As an empath, I've been in many jobs. Some are very draining, while others are less draining. And what I learned is the job itself is not as important as these three things that I'm going to share with you. If you don't wish to feel burnout in a job and you want to find a career path that is best suited for you as an empath, you will have to consider these three things too. And it's not just about finding the best job. Let me give you an example. So I used to be a maths tutor. It feels very satisfying helping students learn, solving their maths problem and seeing them improve. One day I had a new engagement and I went to this student place. The moment I stepped into the house, something felt really strange. I was ushered into this small room to teach the child. There was the CCTV in the room. I didn't know whether it was switched on or not. I didn't know if I was being watched or not. And by the end of the lesson, I felt kind of drained. Then the mom introduced me to the dad. And when he said hi to me, I felt a cold shiver down my spine. I didn't feel safe in this family. Something didn't seem quite right with this family. They just give me the bad vibes. When I went back home later that night, the mom texted me and asked me for an evaluation. She said something like this: please rate my son's performance in class today with a rating from 1 to 10. And I was kind of taken aback. This isn't a corporation. Why am I doing performance evaluation on your son? It was the first time I received such a request from the parents. I wasn't sure if there's any abuse or something in the family, but they give me a cold and dysfunctional vibe. And I felt really unsafe working with this family. To cut the story short, some things happened and I left the engagement after 8 lessons. I literally walked out of the class and never returned. So what's the point of this story? For an empath, the environment is more important than the job itself. As a one-to-one tutor, I travel from household to household. Some family give me the warm vibes, and I enjoy working with them. Some family give me the anxiety vibes. I have parents who kept asking me how their children were doing. One grandparent in particular even hovered during the lesson to see if the child was able to understand what I was teaching. And some family, like the one I just mentioned, gave me the really bad vibes. I felt really unsafe working in such an environment. Even though I was teaching the same thing, I was put in different environment, and that really affect my enjoyment in what I do. When you're looking for a job, do not just pay attention to the job itself. Pay more attention to the environment. When you go for an interview, ask yourself whether the company gives you a good vibe or not. Sometimes when I step into a household, I immediately know whether this engagement is good for me or not. As an empath, you will be able to sense the company's culture simply by being there and feeling the energetic space. So when you step into a company, really pay attention to how you feel in your body. Do you feel like your body is tightening? Do you feel stressed just by being there? Or do you feel open and relaxed and free? This will save you a lot of trouble down the road. You don't take whatever job that is offered to you and then later find out that, oh my God, the culture is so bad here. All this can be prevented if you just take the time to exercise your empathic powers. I used to be an auditor and I had the chance to go to different clients' company. Even though I didn't like my job as an auditor, I was very grateful that I was given this chance to explore different environments and industry. I quickly know what environment works for me or what doesn't, and this will help me make better choices when I change job. From my experience, I realized industries like oil and gas, shipping, banking and finance, industrial, government sector, military, all these are not suitable for empath. They are either too regimental or too cold in terms of their vibration. Like they don't give you a friendly vibe. And that's why they usually don't resonate with empath like us. As an empath, I would appreciate working in an environment that is more friendly and helpful. Some environment just breed disharmony. And it's not that the people in the industry are bad. They are just put in an environment that promotes disharmony. Of course, when they are in such an environment, they are going to behave in a certain way. For example, when I was in the auditing industry, there is always more engagement as compared to manpower. This caused the seniors and manager to compete for manpower. The staff are often double booked, which means they have to do two or more engagement at the same time. So how can people work harmoniously when it's so stressful? And some clients treat the auditor like some kind of enemy because we are there to find faults and loopholes in their processes. Even if you are kind and helpful to your clients, but you're placed in an environment where you are the opposing party, how harmonious can that be? You can have the same job at different places and it will feel very different. For example, being an accountant in the media industry feels very different from being an accountant in the government sector. The vibe in the media industry is more open. When I was an accountant in a media industry, my superior were willing to accept my ideas and suggestions to improve the workflow. I could go up to them and say, I don't think doing this way works. Why don't we try another way and offer my suggestion? But if you are in the government sector, there may be a lot more red tapes and you may have to follow the regulation more closely. Many helping professions are suitable for empath, but you need to consider the environment. If you are a physical empath and you can feel other people's pain easily, you won't want to work in the hospital or the hospice. That would be too draining for you. Whenever there's a new patient coming in, you will feel their injuries and you will feel their pain. It would make better sense for you to be a private nurse where you attend to only one patient. In this way, you could limit your exposure to the pain and suffering of other people. However, when I talk about environment, it's not just about the environment you're working in, it's also about the environment near your workplace. I would never want to work in a bank. It's not only because I have to be professional all the time, wearing formal shirts and ties, which makes me feel very rigid. It's also because they are usually located in the finance industry. As an empath, I've worked in the finance district before. In the morning, the train will packed with people. During lunch, there are people everywhere. You cannot catch a break. If you are working in the finance industry, there are crowds everywhere and it's very draining. I would rather work in a neighborhood or somewhere less crowded because the environment surrounding the company is better. Even if you are in a helping profession like a coach, therapist, psychologist, do consider the location of a company. If you are working in a less crowded vicinity, you may find it easier to stay grounded. And this means you'll be able to help your client in a more effective way. It also means that you'll feel less burnout after your job. But I know it's not always easy to find an environment that is suitable for you. That's why most empaths like us end up being self-employed, freelancer, or entrepreneurs. When you are your own boss, you have a better control of your environment. You create your own environment. If I continue to be a tutor, I will always be at the mercy of someone else's household. I don't have control over the environment in which I teach my students. But if I start my own company and open my own tuition center, I will have more control over my environment. You don't want a job where you have to keep readjusting your environment. It's not really ideal for an empath. So now I feel great working at home as a writer and a content creator because I have more control over my space. I can put things that resonate with me and energize me in my space, and I can work for long hours without feeling drained. However, there is a second component you need to consider when deciding your career path. Even though as a tutor, the pay is pretty good and I find satisfaction helping students, eventually I stopped giving tuition. I realized half of my students wanted to learn and get better, but the other half of my students just wanted the lesson to end so they could do their own things. Teaching people who don't want to learn is a very draining process. I didn't enjoy forcing my students to learn something that they didn't want to learn. As an empath, I could feel that they are not interested. And when they were not interested in learning, I didn't feel interested in teaching either. But at the same time, I knew that the people paying me were the parents, and I had to fulfill my responsibility as a tutor. In a way, I have to make and motivate the student to be interested in learning math. But to me, it was a misalignment. What the parents believed was good for the children didn't align with my higher perspective. Even though I was a math tutor, I didn't think you needed to be good in math to be successful in life. I would help someone get better in math if that's what they wanted to do, but I didn't think it is necessary. So I usually ended those engagements when the student weren't interested. Apart from environment, there is a second thing we empaths need to consider when designing our career path. It is the people. If you are self-employed, you will have to consider your clients, the people you're helping, the supplier, and the partnerships. You want to see who you want to help and who you don't wish to help. You definitely don't want to help everybody. You want to pick customers that align with your purpose. You have to choose your clients wisely. Like in my case, I prefer to teach students who are more self-motivated and have the desire to learn and improve. I know if you are in a helping profession, like a healer or a therapist, you will want to help people, but you have to learn to turn down clients that are not right for you, they are draining for you, they are not suitable for you, because you're not meant to help everyone. When you turn other people down and reject them, you're actually doing them a big favor. This client will be able to get help from someone else who is more suitable for them. There are plenty of maths tutors out there. I'm sure parents will find someone else who is able to help their children learn. It's just not me, because I can sense the children's emotion and it bothered me. Some other tutors who aren't as sensitive as me will be able to carry out their responsibility much better than me. If you're working for a company, you have to consider your co-workers, your bosses too. And if you have done the prep, which I mentioned previously, such that you feel the environment when you first step in the company, this will probably not be too much of a problem. Because if you sense the company's culture is one of positivity and harmony, it will be very difficult for someone who wants to play office politics to survive in such an environment. The superior wouldn't hire someone like this in the first place. Other colleagues will also not play along with this person. That's why the culture and the environment is so important for an empath. Of course, there may be one or two people that irritates you or drain your energy. Maybe they are too noisy or they keep coming to you for help. But if you have learned how to set boundaries, it wouldn't be such a big deal. The more important question you want to ask yourself is, how much time do you want to interact with other people? Empath can be both extroverted and introverted. As an introverted empath, I can tell you I love being around people, but only in small doses. I only want to spend 10 to 20% of my time talking to people when I'm working. I'm highly independent and I would rather spend most of my time alone doing my own thing. When I was an accountant, it was great because I get to do my own thing and my colleagues do their own things. We share jokes and chit chat a little bit from time to time. Sometimes I got to teach other people how to do certain things, help them, and have some interaction. But that's all the interaction I needed. When my superior started promoting me, I left my job. Partially, I was pursuing another job as an animator at that time, but another reason is I didn't want to be a manager. I didn't want to manage a team or get stuck in meetings for hours. There's too much chat for my liking. If you are an introvert like me, you don't want to pick a job where you have to keep dealing with people. Otherwise, it will feel very draining. One of my favorite jobs as a part-timer is being a book assistant. Just surrounding myself with books or going down to the retail store to pick out books for my customer is fun and I love it. And I love the energy I feel from books. It's peaceful and not random and chaotic as the energy I get from other people. I wouldn't put myself in a retail position or the bookstore counter service and have to deal with people all the time. It's the same industry, but the amount of interaction you have is very different. If people drains you, consider jobs that have minimal interaction with humans. You can deal with plants, animal, books, digital image, art, etc. You don't have to choose a helping profession like a teacher, social worker, or therapist. Empath can be good in creative fields too, because we get to feel the emotion of other people and create art out of it. And my job right now as a writer and a content creator is perfect because I get to help people from afar. I often receive messages from people all around the world telling me how much they benefited from my books, my translated books, my blog posts, and my videos. But I don't have to spend so much time talking to people, which is great. I could also reach more people through my writing and videos than just doing one-to-one coaching session. Of course, coaching people one-to-one or in groups can help them more deeply and in a more meaningful and intimate way. But it really depends on what you want and what stage you're in your life. That's why I love being self-employed. It has the flexibility. If I want to help others in a more customized way, I could block off a period of time for coaching. And if I'm not in the mood to talk to people, I could just focus on my writing and my videos. There is a lot of freedom when you are able to design your own career path. And this brings me to my last point. Before I become an animator, I was a student and my school gave me assignment. These assignments are quite open-ended. Basically, you can choose any dialogues from movies and TV shows and create your own version of animation. It was a lot of fun, and I got to be creative and imagine different scenarios and ideas. But when I became an animator, it wasn't fun anymore. There were very little room for creativity. I had to stick to the script very closely. I had a tight deadline, which stresses me out, and I had to work during weekends and late at night. Same kind of animation work, but it felt very different. One was fun, while the other was draining. So here's the thing, it's not so much about what you do, but about how you do it. When I was an animation student, I had a long deadline. We got to polish our shots very slowly for weeks. But at my job, I had to churn out a few animation shots per week. Of course, that would be draining. And when you have the freedom to do what you want, of course, it will be more fun. When you find or design your job, you need to consider how the job needs to be done. How do people expect you to do the work? And does it resonate with your energy or not? When I was an auditor, I was evaluated poorly because I wasn't assertive enough. One senior wanted me to go up to the client and ask them questions and demand them to give you answers and let them, the client, do the work for me. But that's not my style. I saw the accountant were busy. I didn't want to bother them. I could find the answer on my own. So why not just do it on my own? Both ways gave the same result. But my job requires me to be assertive, and being helpful doesn't help in my job. That's why it's not a good match. Most people think that empaths are not suitable for jobs like sales and marketing. But the issue here are not with the function, sales and marketing. It's just the conventional way that companies expect you to do sales and marketing that are draining. They expect you to be direct, forceful, and hard sell your product, which is not an empath natural energy. And that's why it felt inauthentic. If there's no such expectation of how your work should be done, empath could be great in sales and marketing too. Because empaths have a great understanding of other people's emotion and needs. We know what other people want. We can create a great rapport with other people. It's just that we have to do it in our own authentic style, in our own natural energy. As a self-employed, I have to do sales and marketing too. It's not that I only do what I love to do and disregard the rest. I don't care about the finance, I don't care about the sales and marketing. Then where the customer come from? How can I survive? As an empath, you just have to pick the type and style of sales and marketing that fits you. Like in my case, I enjoy doing content marketing. So I write blog posts and create videos like this. And from time to time, I will share with my audience my books. And if they don't buy it, then they don't. If they buy it, then they buy it. Like I have a very carefree style in sales and marketing. I don't like to hard sell others. When you're finding a job that best suits you as an empath, consider how they do the work too. During the interview, you can ask the hirer how the work is performed. You can also be a part timer first to observe how work is being done. Or you can be a customer instead and see how the service is provided to you. Doing so, you will have a better gauge of how the work is being done in the company, and you will know whether it resonates with you or not. And if you are designing your own career, choose the style that energizes you the most. Let go of the belief of how the work should be done traditionally and do it in your own way, in your own special style. And if you're stuck in a job that is draining you right now, this may give you the motivation to leave your job.